Right, hi folks. We've come to the last subtopic of this huge topic called polynomial, and that is cubic factorization. So hold on tight. Right, the next few slides will show you what cubic factorization is all about. Right, as per normal, right, let's do a recap of what you have learned earlier. If you were to recall, you have learned how to do simple factorization, simple linear factorization. Right, simple linear factorization, simple linear factorization, such as like if you're given 2x plus 4, then you just simply factorize 2 outright. And then from there, you progress to factorizing a quadratic expression, like x squared plus 3x plus 2. Right, and you also progress to learn how to factorize using the algebraic identities, like if you're given x squared minus 4, and then you can factorize it as x plus 2, x minus 2, right? This one, it's applications of this a squared minus b squared gives you a plus b. And also you also learn how to factorize things like x squared plus 2a, x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. This can be factorized as x plus y to the power of 2, right, using this identity. Right, and then if you have like x squared minus 2xy plus y squared, you can factorize into this, also using one of these algebraic identity. Right, so and also besides all this factorization, you also learn how to factorize using grouping and so on and so forth, right? So factorization actually is not something new to you, right? It's actually not something new to you. You have actually learned it already, the basics, okay? So what we are going to do now is to factorize a cubic polynomials, So we can't use any of the methods that's listed on the right hand side. Okay, you can't use it, right? However, we can still apply the concepts. Okay, what are the concepts that's been applied here? When you're factorizing linear, you actually, when you're factorizing something, you actually break it up into factors. Okay, into factors. Like x plus 2 is a factors. All right, you can actually write and then x plus 2, x plus 1, all these are factors. So basically, when you factorize something, you're actually breaking up into factors. Even like 2 is also a factors, right? It's a number, but x plus 2 is a linear factor with a polynomial. Okay, right. So we all know that to factorize something, we actually break it up into factors. Okay, so for cubic factorization, right, it's a bit difficult, as in like you have to, it's like doing some witch hunting. You have to go and hunt for the first factor. You have to go and hunt for the first factor. But it's not difficult. Why is it not difficult? Because right now, technology is so advanced now, you can just use a calculator to help you. Previously when you don't have a calculator, you have to use a stupid method called trial and error. We won't say stupid, sorry. Trial and error is a very good method. Sometimes if you're desperate enough, just try and error. You can use trial and error, right? Just let x equals to 1, let x equals to -1, and then see if the remainder is 0. Because if the remainder is 0, then you have found one factor, right, using factor theorem. So we really don't have to use that. You can just practically use a calculator to help you find one factor. And depending on what calculator you're using, like if you're using Casio or using some other sharp model or whatever, you can just go to the YouTube. There's a lot of videos in the YouTube that teach you how to, you find factors. So mine is a Casio, so I'm just going to use it to find one factors. right, and I managed to find, okay, the calculators will give you a few answers, right? What I've shown in the calculator is x can be 1/3, x can be -2, x can be -3. So usually I will choose the one which is a number. Don't choose fraction, because you will have to convert it into a factor. It's more troublesome. So I will just choose x equals to -2. Choose x equals to -2. Right, so the first step to factorize cubic polynomial is actually what do you call that? There's certain steps you have to follow lah. And then if you just remember the steps, right, it just fall in nicely. So the first step is just give a name to your polynomial. It's like you would like to be called with a name, right? I mean not to be called as Mr. or boy or girl or whatever, but rather your name, James, or Jenny, that kind of thing. So likewise, we give a name to this polynomial, we call it f of x. Alright, so just now what did I say? Oh my god, my memory is so bad. I think I said I let x equals to -2, is it? So let's try to see. I let x equals to -2. And let's see if I get remainder 0. They say that if your memory is not so good, you can try eating Jingo nuts. But don't quote me. Sekali eat already, then something happen and that's it. But you can improve your memory by practice doing math every day lah. Or practice reciting, memorize some poems or whatever lah. Okay, so yes, the remainder equals to 0. Remainder equals to 0. So therefore, x plus 2 is a factor. Alright, so there are two ways of finding the remaining factor. Okay, one of them is using the long division method, which is really long. The other one is use compare coefficients. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you long division here. And in the next example, I will just show you the other method. Okay, so using long division. I think using long division, it's quite a, what do you call that, safe method, because you should get remainder equals to 0. If you don't get remainder equals to 0, that means you have made some mistake along the way. So in a way also it helps you to check your answer lah. Sometimes it's quite boring just to wait for me to do, so you can actually try also. Not try lah. You can actually also try to do it on your own. Take out a piece of paper and then do it along. And then you can also check my working, see whether it's right or wrong. Sometimes I make mistake too. Yeah, I get remainder 0. So happiness is when you get remainder 0, then you know you have done it correctly. Alright, so this we can just, so therefore your f of x can be factorized into x plus 2 and a quadratic expression. So the quadratic is what you have learned earlier on, right? Right, on the right hand side, you learn how to factorize quadratic expression. So you can just factorize it some more. Let me check. 3x squared minus x plus 9x. 9x minus x. Yeah, it's 8x. Okay, right, that's it. So this is how you do cubic factorization. So if you learn, if you learn it well, you can do it. But if you don't learn it well, some people will just simply use a calculator and then give me answer like this. Let me show you. If you use a calculator, the calculator will give you all the answers. And then you just convert it into factors. If your answer is just, this one, factorize it equals to, without showing any working, I'm saying without showing any working, just simply use a calculator, then obviously you won't get any mark at all. Okay, without showing working at all. Alright, of course you won't get any marks. Supposing this is a 3 marks question, do you think they could just give you 3 marks merely to use the calculator? No lah, don't think so lah. Okay. right? The calculator is just to help you to find one factor. You still need to show the skill of knowing how to use long division and the skill of able to factorize this quadratic polynomial, quadratic expression. Okay, right. Right, so sometimes the question may not be so straightforward lah. They may not arrange everything nicely for you, you know. It's the same like, you know, like sometimes you need to go in the like you don't always expect your mom to tidy up the room for you, you know. Sometimes your room can be in a mess and then you have to go and arrange things nicely, you know, the pillows and the whatever is on the bed and the books must be on the table, that kind of thing. So similarly with mathematical questions also lah, sometimes they don't give you so direct representation, right? So you just have to rearrange it, you know, put everything on the left hand side and arrange it in from x cubed to x squared to x and x to the power of 0. Okay, in the power in descending order. All right, from small to big. And then you realize that, oh, there's a cubic. You get given a cubic equation and you ask to solve it. So, okay, so then what's the difference between solving an equation or factorizing an expression? Because earlier on, okay, earlier on we asked to factorize it, right? Factorize is something like this. Factorize without equals to 0 lah. You see the word is called factorize. On the right hand side is called factorize. So factorize, remember, factorize there's no equal to 0, 1. It means that your answer is in factors, bracket, 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 bracket form. That is called factorize. Okay, that's called factorize. You break it up into factors. But if you're asked to solve an equation, that means the answer is that there's an equal to 0. And the answer you are giving is x equals to something, x equals to something, or x equals to something. You understand what I'm saying? It's the answer. Yeah, x equals to an answer, x equals to answer, x equals to answer. That is when you solve an equation, you have an answer for x. All right. Okay. So, right, what's the first thing we do? Same thing lah. The first thing we do is the same as what we have done earlier on. You just need to find one factor. Or you can just give, okay, we give this guy a name. Everybody wants to be called with this, by the name or with the name. Okay, I'm not very good with this. Right. So we give this fella a name called f of x. And then, so we're going to use a calculator again to find one factors. Okay, so on your calculator, you would be given, okay, you are given some with a lot of decimal places and some with 2 with decimal places and 1 x equals to half. So no choice lah, you just have to use x equals to half lah. So x equals to half means I substitute that means I substitute f of half, right? That means I substitute x equals to half lah. What am I talking? Right. So you just substitute inside there. And obviously you must get remainder 0. Let's check again. Let's check if on my calculator it's not cuckoo. Sometimes the calculator can break down. Like human also lah. Overwork already and break down lor. 7 bracket. Yes, I get remainder 0. Yes, happiness. So therefore, okay, so x equals to half, you need to convert it into a linear factor. So multiply 2 on both sides, you get 2x equals to 1. And then convert some more is 2x minus 1 equals to 0. So therefore, 2x minus 1 is a factor. Okay, so as promised to you, earlier on we used long division to find the remaining factors. Here I'm going to show you how you can use a compare coefficient method. All right, so we know that a qubit is equals to linear multiplied with a quadratic. So I understand that the other factors will be in the quadratic form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so let's do the first one. So the first one will just be a 2ax cubed. So 2ax cubed is equals to 2x cubed. So therefore a is equals to 1. So we found a to be 1. we can just replace it, can? Alright. And then you can find the last term. The first and the last term can be found quite easily lah, which is you just take -1 times c gives you negative c. So negative c is equals to the constant term on the left hand side, which is 3. So c is equals to -3. Okay, so we found that already. So we just replace your c with -3, can? Okay, then what we are left is this constant b here. Okay, you can actually expand everything if you want to, right? That will be quite time consuming lah. If you have all the time in the world to do that, then you can. Also, you can just compare coefficients of x squared or coefficients of x. Don't compare coefficients of x cubed. Right? Do you know why? You should know by now why, right? Because we already done it here. So there's no point comparing coefficients of x cubed. And also don't bother to compare coefficients of the constant term. Why? Because we already done it there. So you're only left with the x squared or the x term, all right? So I think I will just do coefficients of x squared lah. So you just take this guy times this. That will give you negative x squared, right? And then take this guy times this. That will give you positive 2bx squared. Then you can factorize your x squared to get 2b minus 1. Okay? So then can you see that your 2b minus 1, this guy here, I'm going to box it up for you. This one. You can compare with this, right? The green box compare this with the green box. The left compare with the right. Okay, then what do we get? So we would end up 2b minus 1. It's positive x squared with positive x squared. Be careful now. This one is positive. So positive with positive. So 2b minus 1 is equals to, equals to 1. Oh, in case you don't quite really get it, never mind. I'll show you the steps. Okay, show you step by step. So we just write the whole thing down. Don't worry, just write the whole thing. This one is equals to x squared. And then you divide by x squared on both sides, okay? You divide by x squared on both sides. So that gives you 2b minus 1. X squared divided by x squared gives you 1, okay? Gives you 1, It's just like 2 divided by 2 is 1, 3 divided by 3 is 1. So x squared divided by x squared is just 1. So 2b is equals to 1 plus 1, 2b equals to 1. Okay, so we have found b. Now we can actually put everything back into our whatever we've done, just this term here lah, this term. Sometimes I'm at a loss for words. All right, so this is what we have. Okay, so that's not complete yet because we're supposed to solve it. Solve it means to find the values of x. So we need to let this equals to 0. So we have 2x minus 1 equals to 0. Or this guy equals to 0. Okay, so x is equals to half. Right, so you have to prepare yourself. Sometimes that you see, life is not really that what they call it, so straightforward lah. There's ups and downs, the kind of thing. So do not assume that when they ask to solve any equation, the values you get for x will be a fraction, a rational number. Sometimes it could be an irrational number. And if that's the case, you cannot really factorize it using the normal method you've learned. You have to factorize using quadratic formula. All right, remember quadratic formula? Quadratic formula, yeah. So in this case here, this is exactly what has happened. You don't actually have a rational number for your value of x. So here we have to use the quadratic formula. So I hope you remember your quadratic formula. If not, you have to go and memorize it lah. I think there's a song you can go internet and then there's a song on how you can sing it out lor. If you're very good at singing. But in exam, don't sing too loudly lah. Alright, so you will get if you find yourself very bored doing all this, try to entertain yourself like what I'm doing now. Okay, you will get 1.30 answer to 3 significant figure. most of the time it's three significant figure lah, unless the questions otherwise stated. Right, so can you see we have three answers here. When you solve equations, this is a cubic equation, therefore there are three roots, three answers, three roots, three solutions. Okay? Yeah, okay. Alright, let's look at this question. Sometimes you don't really need to use a calculator to find one factor, no really. Or you don't really have to use long division or compare coefficient. Sometimes you really just have to examine the polynomial, cubic polynomial that's given to you, right? You can still factorize it using, if it's a four terms, here you're given four terms, right? You're given four terms here. So if it's just a four terms, a polynomial involving four terms, cubic polynomial involving four terms, you can actually factorizing using this method called grouping. It's like you have four friends, then you want to group, put them into two groups. You know, four friends, you want to put them into two groups. So that's called grouping, right? So likewise, you can apply the same concept. So if you want to put your friends into two groups, then you must have some similarity, right? Yeah, usually you will want to find friends that have the same hobby, then you can talk about the same hobby. Otherwise, it's so boring, right? Two of them facing each other, you know, one talk about the duck, one talk about the chicken, that kind of thing. So they must have the same kind of similarity. So if you were to observe carefully, x cubed and x squared, right? There's a common factor. Common factor is x squared. So you can group them as one group, and then your 4x plus 4, you can put them as another group because there's a common factor 4, right? So this is what we're going to do. Factorize x squared out. Then for the second group, factorize 4 out. Okay, did you see what I see? Did you see what I see? Yes. All right. Can you see x plus 1 is another common factor where you can just pull it out and you get x squared plus 4. And that's it. You have just managed to factorize it without even having to use long division. Okay, and here, you just stop here, okay? And don't be kaypoh. You know why don't be kaypoh? Because some people, I think the eyes got stamps or what lah. X squared plus 4, right? Some people go and see it as x squared minus 4. And then they go on and factorize it to be x minus 2, x plus 2. All right, which is of course not correct. So, okay, so you have to open your eyes big. This is x squared plus 4. This is not the same as x squared minus 4. X squared plus 4 is called irreducible factor. You cannot factorize it anymore. Okay, so you just stop it there. That's it. That's the answer. Okay, right. Don't do extra. Okay, then the next step is, so this is a slightly different questions. Sometimes in exam, they'll ask you this kind of questions. They ask you to show there's only one real solution. One real solution means there's one real root. There's one real root, you know, where the curve actually touches the x-axis and give you one answer. That's what you mean by one real solution. Because for a cubic curve, it can be like that. It can be like this. Oh, in this case, then you got three solutions, right? Or it can be, wait, let me see how to draw. Like that. There's only one solution, So here, can you see this part of the curve? There's no real solution. So the only real solution come from here, the arrow here. So it can happen this way also for a cubic equation. Right. So sometimes the question likes to, you know, like they like to ask this kind of question. So it's not difficult also. All we need to do is just equals to 0. Then of course x plus 1 equals to 0. So x equals to -1. Then x squared plus 4 equals to 0. So x squared equals to -4. And x equals to, you can't basically, there's no real solutions for a square root -4. There's no real solution. So here you can just say that no real roots or no real solution. So therefore x equals to -1 is the only real solution. Okay, this is one way of doing. Some other way is that you just show that this guy has no real roots. And remember which chapter do you, which chapter that has this no real roots are equal roots are all the roots thing? Yeah, this chapter on discriminant, right? So you can actually go ahead and find the discriminant. and you say that you get negative 16. Negative 16 is less than 0, right? So then you explain that since b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, x squared plus 4 equals to 0 has no real roots. So therefore, x equals to negative 1, blah, 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 is the only real solution. That's another way of doing it lah. Okay? Right, so basically you have covered, under polynomial, we have covered the remainder theorem, factor theorem, Q8 factorization, right? In probably one whole morning, where maybe in school, you will take probably, how many periods to do it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8 periods to do it. Okay? Right, so if you learn all this basic well, you should be able to solve a higher order thinking question. All right, so good luck to all of you.